All right, welcome everybody. Just getting our normal screens all pulled up here. Boom, boom, share. All right. So, as per usual, if it is your first time here while people continue to join us, I do always have the question and answer open in my other screen here, so I can always be watching it. I also am going to pull up the live chat and let's get this list up as well. Okay. Hope everybody's week has been off to a great start. It hasn't been so crazy with releases from all the AI companies lately, but this is a webinar that's been inspired by some real events, which I'll start sharing with you guys in a second. Good to see you, Eric, as always. Hey, Jack, Mike. Uh, all right, so we're gonna continue on here while people continue to join us. We got some stragglers popping in. So, really what inspired today is I've been getting my demo link hammered by people, a lot of people actually from these webinars, but as you guys know, I have contractsconnected.com is my full-time job where we're building the AI agents for all the back office paperwork and construction. And then this is kind of like a passion project, like these are free webinars, everything's free. I go put them on YouTube, I put them on our resource section in contractsconnected.com. So all of this stuff is 100% free for everybody. There's no like email gates or sales process. I just do this out of like a passion for I love AI. It's changed my life, and I know that it can change many other people's lives in a much larger way if you just kind of know how to use it. And I've had a front row seat to a construction company. My co-founder at Contracts Connected runs a construction company. He has a few federal jobs, a few private going on right now. And essentially, he's just kind of I think of him as a tech forward guy. He's the co-founder of our software, running back offices for the construction industry. But at the same time, there are areas where he's like, I assume he knows. And a lot of the times he doesn't, he's not able to figure it out. And I think that I may assume some things about, oh, this is easy. And what he tells me is like, this is not easy. What's easy for you is not easy for everybody else. And yeah, I think that this is just a way for me to kind of bridge that gap. And as far as like the people that have been booking in demos for Contracts Connected, they also have, let's call it second agendas where they're like, hey, I just had one yesterday. I chatted with them for a full hour, gave them a lot of advice. But they said, hey, we just lost our accounts payable person, and I don't want to necessarily hire another. And that to me, is good that they're thinking about, well, if this is just documents and workflows and standard operating procedures and all of that kind of stuff, why can't I just agent kind of like button this up? They are like probably a mid-sized company, but there are a couple of people in the organization that are currently taking on this burden. And, they're dealing with like hundreds of invoices and hundreds of payments every month with multiple softwares that things need to be tracked in. And essentially, I was like, yep, well, what you would do is this is a good way to start. You want to maybe start with some co-work stuff, but the way that it's going to be able to actually handle PDFs is by using Claude Code. They were trying to use Zapier. They were trying to use Workflow. She told me a couple of other ones, but with no luck. like she said, I spent 12 hours on this and it was a lot of trial and error and I just ended up with nothing. And essentially, like that's what I'm trying to help with on these webinars and give it away for free. So with that, I would just like to say the Q&A is for you guys today. This stuff is not for me. You know, I do this, I know this stuff. I'm building at a really deep level right now inside of different construction organizations. And I want you guys to use and abuse that Q&A up there for your questions. Be selfish. This is your permission. Be selfish with the time here. There's a lot of people here. I think that today we had, what did we get? 262 people register for this webinar today in the construction industry. So let's get into it. Use that Q&A. It should be in the menu section somewhere in Zoom, wherever it is. But that is going to be probably how you guys will get the most value is by, actively participating. I can't see your faces, so I don't know if some of the stuff I'm saying is like this, or if I'm breaking it down far enough. So I have a variety of people in here today, a lot of familiar faces, but also I see a good amount of people that haven't been to a webinar in the past, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to continue and kind of break down some of these topics, like maybe you haven't heard me say them 100 times before. This is week number, oh, this is my 30th webinar, so welcome to the 30th week. Almost, I'm gonna get close to a year here pretty soon, but 30 weeks straight of these free webinars, and every week we've done some deep dives for a full hour on how to use AI, what's new with AI, what's the best way to use these things. So if you guys hang around to the end, I will be going through a really easy way to solve a really, I guess, simple problem, but a problem that kind of plagues everybody here. And it's around file management. And we will be using an agent to do this. Okay. So let's jump in. So, build your first agent. This is what I want you guys to be able to walk away from, not only knowing what's going on with agents, what an agent really is, but like how to go and just get it done. So, you're basically going to learn to turn any repetitive construction workflow into a beginner-friendly, anybody can do it. You don't need to know code to do this while still staying in control, meaning human in the loop, guardrails, right? We don't want it to go do things that we don't necessarily want to allow, and so on. So there is this like, I don't know if you guys feel it, but there is this overwhelming sense of like urgency to be like, I need to figure this out. Or like, I just don't have the time, but I know I need the time and I know I need to be figuring this out. And how do I even get started? Where do I even get started? What do I even tackle first? What's even going to move the needle? What's a good problem to solve to begin with? And those are all valid questions. And this is going to be kind of what we're diving into today. But overall, there's a 10% productivity improvement from 2000 to 2022. And this is, compared to 50% for the overall economy. So up till 2022, before AI really kind of like dialed in here, there wasn't the same level of like productivity improvement. And a lot of this does stem from, you guys have these year-long, sometimes longer jobs, and to improve a process means to start something, even when you're in month 6 of 12 months on a project, right? So how do you change course in the middle of a project and then go a whole different route on maybe your accounts payable or the way that you manage your documents or whatever? So this is something that I think is relatively important to understand for like maybe why construction gets this rep for being slow to adopt things, which I don't think is necessarily true, but I do think there's some factors that kind of play into that idea that people don't always take into consideration. One being the length of your jobs and having multiple starting at different times and then having to change halfway through a job. 92% of construction firms reported difficulty for hiring open positions. And this is one huge lever that I've talked about. I actually went and visited in person and spent an entire day at a GC in San Diego that was doing uh, a lot of commercial, but mostly like city and public works projects. And they were really struggling. They were saying like, "Oh, we want this young talent. We want the guys right out of or the girls right out of college." But they're all programmed to be like software for this, software for that, and we're still using Excel trackers. And I think that by you guys being here and implementing some sort of AI agent, you're going to be attracting that younger demographic. They want to be using this stuff. They don't want to be working harder. They want to be working smarter and they want to be tech forward. I don't know if many kids are coming out of college and saying, nah, tech just isn't for me. I'm going to go and I'm going to go basically build this stuff manually in Excel trackers and whatnot. 45% of organizations say they have no AI implementation so far. That was last year. And then identifying where AI can help is a major concern. So that's basically an Autodesk survey that was ran last year as well. So understanding AI, the prompt, the automation, and the agent. So what we're going to get into today is, a prompt is going to be giving you an answer that's going to be following instructions. And automation follows a fixed predefined step. An agent can choose among allowed tools to complete a bounded job across multiple steps, dynamically directing its process. It becomes agentic when it can read a messy input, decide what step to take, and then finish inside guardrails. So I'm going to break this down because this was a topic that I got into with the owner of the GC yesterday that had booked in on my calendar. Basically, she was trying to use Zapier, and Zapier is cool, but at the end of the day, it was just a workflow. And what I mean by workflows is it's step one, you drag and drop a PDF, and then it has to do the exact same process each time, right? There's no variation in the process. It's you drag a PDF, that PDF is then attached to this. It is then read in OCR, optical character recognition, or just the way that AI reads PDFs and then it is added into a secondary form or a tracker or something, right? So that is a black and white, like this is what happens every single time. But what we got into with her was, hey, no 2 days for this um, accounting manager or controller looks the same at my company. Some days these invoices look different. Some days there's this, some days there's that. And we call those edge cases, right? And a workflow is an AI workflow is often kind of disguised as agents in this industry, unfortunately. They don't have true agents. They don't have true things making decisions. That what they have are workflows. And a workflow is very black and white. And while workflows do work for some things, they don't work for many things, right? Because every day at your job, you're dealing with some sort of like nuance thing, right? Like it's a little bit different than it was yesterday, or this one thing happened today that I hadn't seen in a while, for example. So you really need to understand that you'll see a lot of advertising out there, like agents this, agents that, agents this. But at the end of the day, a workflow is not an agent. An agent has access to a lot of tools. And in the AI world, what we call tools are just different, you know, they could be the ability to browse the internet, the ability to manage an inbox, the ability to connect into your project management solution. Each one of those abilities that you unlock for it is considered a tool. And a tool is essentially it's tool belt for when you give it a task, you can give it a dynamic amount of tasks. You can give it a lot of different scenarios, right? You can give it edge cases without having to train it every single time or adjust the workflow every single time. And you can actually have it come to that outcome on its own, making its own decisions to get you to the promised land of where you want to go. And it becomes agentic when it can read that messy input, decide what to do about that messy input, and then finish inside guardrails. And guardrails are just another word for protections for you. You know, don't delete any files, or ask me before sending emails or something like that. So this is hopefully a good separation here for you guys on what we're going to be kind of diving into. And I want you guys, as you go out there into the world and you're evaluating these different AI tools, to not be fooled by agent language when something is actually just a workflow. So that's one thing that came up in my call with her yesterday that I just want to make sure is clear to you guys. All right, so before we get started on like building this agent, I want to talk about the principles of them. So when people get started, I see them want to tackle this huge complex problem, like yesterday, for example. She was like, I want to build an entire controller. And I said, okay, what's one example of a task? And she said, oh, well, when we get an invoice, we want to then download that invoice, rename the file, save it in this file system, then go into our accounting software, enter this here, send this for approval. Once it comes back for approval, then this happens, and then that happens. And I was like, okay, this is a big problem that you're solving. And this is just one of the workflows that this employee would need to handle, right? And I recommended to her, I was like, hey, pick a piece of this workflow that is the most burdensome and takes the most time. And what one mistake that I see all the time with people building out these things for their first time is they just start way too crazy, and then they spin their wheels and they get stuck and they get frustrated and they stop trying and they give up. And that's because they're trying to solve a problem that's too big from the beginning. It's better to pick a piece of the problem, start small, and see success. And what I want you guys to get out of this is the ability to go build that first agent, see success, build momentum from that success. Oh, wow, I did that. Now I can do this and I can do this, and I'm going to go do this, right? So those are all different pieces of the puzzle. And you need to build them like puzzle piece by puzzle piece by puzzle piece, and then maybe connect them all at the end. Maximize single agent capabilities before using multi-agent systems. So I'm not going to get too deep into this, but there are multiple different ways to have agents work. There is something called an agent swarm. An agent swarm is for the most complicated things you could imagine, and you guys likely don't need them for anything, but it's important that you know the term. So agent swarms are when a team of agents are simultaneously spun up. So you have five workers, and then you have an orchestrator. This orchestrator is the project manager. These are all of the different tradespeople, right? And they're going to be orchestrated to the tradespeople. Now, the difference between an agent swarm and a agent team or sub agents, I guess you could call them. An agent swarm, those five and the project manager are constantly going to be in communication. They're going to be talking to each other, challenging each other. Hey, I just finished this piece of the puzzle. Can you review it while you're building yours? Okay, yes, I'll review it. And they're constantly messaging each other. They build out like their own little messaging system in their own team. It's pretty cool to watch. But it takes a lot of tokens, and it's really kind of unnecessary for most things. Now, an agent team kind of deal or sub agents is the same structure, five agents below, one project manager up top, but the project manager just gives the list of tasks to the five, and there's not really a ton of communication other than just to the project manager. Okay. And that's what's going to accomplish like 99% of problems. And then you have a single agent. And single agent is exactly what it sounds like. You just have one agent attacking one problem at one time. So you want to maximize the lowest level first, meaning a single agent. It might take a little bit longer, but it's going to be able to get it done at the end of the day. And then focus on a single reliable helper for a specific task. So it's kind of up to the first point too that I talked about. All right, so let's get into our recipe. What is the recipe to put these agents together? What do we need to know? So what we have here is we have triggers and inputs. A trigger is exactly what it sounds like. How does this agent know to start working? Like, yeah, we have this agent, it can do all these things, but what does it need? What turns it on? What hits the on switch? So you have to think about that. When do I want this agent to turn on? Okay, I want this agent to turn on every Monday at 5 a.m. So when I come into the office, all this work is done from over the weekend. Or you could say, I want this agent to turn on every time it receives an email with an invoice attached to it. So that could happen. So you would basically decide what's going to be the on switch, what's going to be the go button for this specific agent. So the agent initiates the workflow and provides raw data. So this could be a new email or a document upload or so on. So it can be triggered off an unlimited number of different ways to turn this thing on. You name it, it can do it. Then you have your instructions and knowledge. So you're going to define the agent's tasks, rules, objectives, and information sources. So this is just good pre-prompting. If you guys are part of the AI community that I run, you would see in that advanced prompting class kind of the backstory here. You need to give it context. What I personally train our agents like, here's our company, here's our founding story, here's our company values, here's our mission, here's our vision, like all of the above. And then I start working on it as far as like, okay, you're this role, go do this research. Okay, come back with the research. Now upload all of that research into your role. So you're basically building it out as if it's someone that just got out of college and doesn't know anything, right? So the next thing here is tools and actions. So I got into tools a little bit earlier here, and tools are things on the tool belt. So these are specific functions the agent can perform: update a tracker, draft an email. Tools work in two main ways. You give it access to the tool, and then you set the permissions on the tool. So, for example, update a tracker. You can give it access to Excel. You can give it access to your Google Drive, your OneDrive, your Share Drive, whatever the drive you're using. Then you want to give it permissions. The permissions can look a variety of different ways. So the permissions can look like never allow, right? So it just knows it can't do certain things, like it cannot update that tracker by itself. It can only read it, right? Or you could say it has access to do these things with permission, right? So it would ask you, hey, can I do this? And you'd have to hit allow. Or you can just open up the floodgates, right? You have that access point that you can just say always allow, and it can just go do things without asking you. So it depends on your stakes here when you're setting up your tools or your agents. What tools are you giving it access to? And then what actions are you going to allow within that tool? Those are the two things. And that's going to be the critical piece here on what the agent is truly capable of and how you want it to basically stop and ask you questions. Then you can flag in what we call human in the loop. Human in the loop is a pretty cool, basically way to work with AI where it'll go off and work, and then you set the gates in which it needs to come to you for approval before it can continue. So this is mandatory review by a human before critical or external actions. Action log and state. So this is one thing that a lot of people skip, but I would highly recommend you guys do, especially in, for example, the construction organization that I went and visited in person. I'm going back to that office and talking with them more about AI agents this coming Tuesday, actually, a week from today. But the action log and state records all agent activities, outputs, and maintains context for multi-step work. So logs are basically just like, I want to know what this thing did. Let's say I give it the permission to go update that tracker. I want to know what updates did it make to that tracker. I don't want it to just go work by itself like a crazy person and then go make all these crazy updates and I don't even know what changed. This will allow you to be able to audit that. Okay. All right. So you guys do have a unique case here and some other things to consider in terms of like the way to use these agents that maybe some other business owners or businesses in general just don't need. Your guys' typical projects involve an average of 42 external collaborators, and this leads to complex communication, and it also leads to the agent needing to be kind of more transparent than the typical agent, right? Most can be like departmental or something like that. Maybe a few people manage it, but you need to take that into consideration. How do you want this agent to show its work, communicate, or receive information or requests from other people? Only 38% of construction leaders rate their company's ability to share data as strong. This is also from Autodesk. Messy handoffs, scattered information, and too many follow-ups create significant pain points. And then AI can streamline document-heavy processes and improve collaboration across those teams. So this is going back to, I think last week we talked about the MD files and building this like brain for yourself. I think that all agents should be working off MD files right now. And if you guys haven't set those up, we can go deeper into that if you guys want in the QA. The MD files is basically the memory. A lot of these agents, Claude specifically, these agents don't really have memory unless you build out a memory system. So it's just a way for you guys to train it, and then it remembers forever what's going on. All right, document to action follow-up. So here's an example of an agent. I'm going to build another one for you guys live at the end of this webinar here, but I just want to spark this idea before I get into my last slides. An AI agent that watches meeting minutes. So you basically have some sort of AI recorder in there. We've all seen them, right? And also monitors RFIs, could be coming through an email or submittal updates, same thing, extracts action items, owners and due dates, updates a tracker, follows up on messages, and asks your human for approval before sending anything. So think of this as like that kind of just like manager of a who, what, when. I've seen some construction companies implement this where they're like, okay, we had this round table, we had this discussion, now who's doing what by when? So we can come back and track it. This is kind of like that automated process. So things just don't fall through the cracks. We leave those meetings, we get busy, and we forgot to write it down, or we wrote it down on our page of notes, but we turned them to a new page the next day, and that item didn't make it to our new page, right? So this is going to be a good way for everybody to be on their A game, and not have anything fall through the cracks. An example of this would be you would have your inputs. Remember, I talked about inputs and triggers. We're talking about our recipe now. I had the recipe a couple of slides ago. So now let's talk about what this recipe would look like. The input or the trigger would be new meeting minutes, a new RFI, or a submittal notice received, right? And then that would trigger the AI agent to start processing. The agent reads and understands the document content. So this is going to basically parse it out, OCR it, if you guys remember what that means, where it's reading that PDF. Then it's going to extract those key action items. It's going to basically say this is the meat, and this is what we need to remember. Owners and due dates are also extracted and added into this little kind of memory, and then it will draft. So every time that you're prompting AI, it is drafting. If you're prompting like Claude, you'll kind of see it working in more of a transparent way, but ChatGPT is also doing this. So it'll always draft its responses before it's giving it to you if it's something that it needed to think through, like an agent would be. An action log is updated and the follow-up messages are then drafted, and then it's going to basically present it. So it has it in its memory. Hey, I need to go give this to the human to review and approve the drafted actions or messages. So then after that, it executes. So it looks at, hey, I have 15 tools at my disposal. I have email, I have Google Drive, I have Google Sheets, I have all of these different tools. What can I use to accomplish the execution of these meeting minute notes? Okay, I need to go then basically log them on the Excel tracker that the team is using for the who, what, when, right? And actions are sent or posted, and results are then recorded. So it looks pretty simple, right? And I'm even going to simplify it more when I show you guys how easy it is to build these things. So before we build, an important note here is agent guardrails. Guardrails are just like protect me from this. Don't do this, right? Agent can draft and suggest. So we have summarization, extraction, drafting, classification, reminder generation, tracker updates. These tasks enhance the efficiency without human oversight, let's say. And then let's talk about human must approve critical actions. Contract commitments, pay applications, change orders, legal notices, safety sign-offs, or irreversible record changes require human review and approval. So these are also known as guardrails, where you're basically putting up guardrails saying, don't go outside your lane over here, don't go outside your lane over there. Here is where you need to stay. Here's the only things that you should be able to do or update. And then we're going to talk about this when I build this out too, but essential prompts to build your agent. Identify the workflow, use the workflow finder and pilot scope prompts, and then you define your agent rules, convert SOPs into clear actionable rules. If you guys are a company that has structured SOPs documented, your life just got so much easier to build these agents because somebody's already put in the work for your prompt. Craft instructions, write precise agent instructions and objectives. Set guardrails to establish approval and escalation policies. So you have your green, yellow, red. For us at Contracts Connected, we have a certificate of insurance analyzer agent that can do quite a lot, but it basically comes back with the green, yellow, or red. And what the green, yellow, or red means is, hey, this certificate of insurance that this vendor sent is either green, we didn't find anything wrong with it, everything matches what the subcontract's asking for, it looks good. Yellow, meaning, hey, we're flagging some stuff for human review here. Or red. And red is like, we are pretty certain that, this endorsement on this page does not match the standard endorsement language that you guys referenced on your CG 2010 or something like that. So it's going to basically analyze it deeper than any human, but then it's going to give the human just the tools and the knowledge for that human in the loop behavior. So our agent presents everything that it found when it went and used all its tools to go research and check things. It presents the green, yellow, red decision. And then based off that green, yellow, red decision, the human in the loop gets to approve or reject that document. So that's a good example of the green, yellow, red. Test thoroughly, generate comprehensive test cases for your agent. So that's the other piece here is it's so easy to build and move on, build and move on. But the way that you'll see massive success, and also this is very important for adoption within your company for your organization to like truly adopt something like this, if they use it the first time and they automatically don't trust it, it's going to be hard to gain their trust, right? So I would recommend that you kind of keep this in your incubator or you let a couple of your closest colleagues kind of use it and let them know that this is in beta stage. It is important to have more than just you test things because you're the builder. You built it for a specific way. Of course, it's going to work for you, but other people are going to be using this thing in more dynamic ways that maybe you didn't remember or you didn't think of, right? And then your plan implementation, 14-day action plan for your pilot. I would always, when rolling out a new tool, make everybody at the company on the same page about why we're going to be kind of rolling this out, what it's going to solve, how it's going to make life better, and kind of like just an adoption plan. If they don't try it, if they don't adopt it, they'll never know if it's really great. All right, so let's change over. I'm actually going to pull up ChatGPT. I haven't done a webinar involving ChatGPT in some time, but I am going to do it today because when I ran my poll in the last webinar, nearly half of you guys said that you use ChatGPT. So I kind of did a test yesterday just for you guys. And here you can see there's a new tab in ChatGPT called Agents. And I'm going to get over to Claude if I have enough time here. I think I will. But here you can see you can browse through your agents. So these are proven workflows basically that OpenAI has released. And you can have different agents basically built and approved by OpenAI, and then you can see their tools. So they're just using a variety of different kind of like lingo now. And I want you guys also to keep in mind that like ChatGPT is trying to do this as a consumer-friendly version. So if you want a consumer-friendly version that's easy, a couple clicks to get started, I would recommend looking more at ChatGPT. If you're more adventurous, if you're like, I want to eventually have this thing so cranked up and so dialed in that my whole company is AI agents, I would recommend that you guys go invest your time learning Claude and Anthropic's ecosystem. So we're starting to see they're no longer the same, in my opinion. Claude is definitely going more, you have more control, you can build crazier things, go Claude. If you want easier use, go ChatGPT. And you can see that here just by the way that they're talking, right? Like they have their little emoji face, but instead of saying tools or plugins or skills and having all these slash commands to run them, you can see it's giving you a very clear explanation. It's pre-prompted, and then it says works with. Now, works with is just another name for tools. It's tools that it has access to. It's its tool belt to go, accomplish things. You could see it's like prepare an operating brief from schedule inbox, team chat. You could get in here and kind of see as much as you want. I don't think there's going to be a ton of construction stuff in here. Yeah, like an incident RCA assistant is the only one that it's got in here, which meh. So what I'm going to take you guys through is to build your own. So you can see recently used, built by me, or if you have a company account, we have our contracts connected team. We all have ChatGPT subscriptions and Claude subscriptions because we use them for different things. But you're going to just come up here to create an agent. Okay. And here it's going to give you the ability to kind of like just prompt, right? They took away some of the stuff that the custom GPTs had, where there was like this configuration kind of like workflow and stuff like that. But I'm going to say, hey, I have a construction company and we store all of our files in Google Drive. And we know that a lot of our files might be misplaced a little bit sometimes, and they certainly don't have all the exact same file naming structure. We like to name our files project number, owner name, subcontract number, and then we put the vendor's name and then what the document is, whether it's a COI or whether it's a subcontract agreement. And I really want an agent that can just go through because our team is adding stuff to our server every single day. And I just want once a week something that's going to clean this up. Now, I also want to add in guardrails. These guardrails should be, if it's going to move anything outside of a folder, it should ask me for permission. If it's going to delete anything, it never has permission to delete anything. I would just like it to say, name that file all the same, even if it's clearly not a construction document that got uploaded into our file system. And I would like it to just kind of put an archive name in the name. So keep it in the file system. It does not have permission to delete those files. So I will stop that prompt. Here we go. Here's my prompt. And if you guys aren't using the text to type feature in all of these AI tools, I can't recommend it enough. One free tool that I swear and live by is called Super Whisper. I use this every single day, maybe 100 times a day. So pretty cool tool here for talk to text, and you don't have to ever type again. All right, so what we have here is the agent plan. You can see it only needs access to one tool. That's great. It knew it was Google Drive, and I already have my Google Drive connected into my ChatGPT account, so it's not going to need me to set anything else up, otherwise it would ask it here. run every week. So there is a schedule here. And then here's its capabilities. Ask before risky moves, organize the misplaced files, standardize file names. So I'm going to click Start Building. And I'm using a very simple use case here. But I want you guys to basically see this as hey, this is a simple thing. I think everybody has some files somewhere on their computer or in their hard drive or something that are a little misplaced or never named exactly perfectly, unless your customer contract's connected selfishly. But essentially, this is just an example of start small, have something built out, have it run every week and be like, wow, okay, well, like now once I have this running, there's endless possibilities, right? I can keep thinking, I can keep building, I can keep doing more things. So we have channels, and channels is basically like if you guys use Slack or if you guys use Microsoft Teams or something like that, this is just where you can kind of talk to this agent. It has basically apps here, skills, and files. So you'll notice it's building the same that Anthropic does. This is just that consumer-friendly version here. And at this point, ChatGPT 5.5 versus Opus 4.7, I think it's table stakes in terms of who's better. They're kind of the same in my book at this point, especially for unless you're building some really complicated code every single day. You're going to see that it's going to basically give itself an advanced prompt. It's going to reference the tools that it has. And then it's basically going to say, here's how we name our files. Use this structure whenever needed. Here's your core workflow. You're going to inspect all the current file names. You're going to determine whether the file is basically in the right folder. Is it even a construction document? Rename the file. If a file is clearly misplaced but can stay within its current folder, you may recognize it or reorganize it within that folder. Correcting the organization, never delete files, naming rules, handling non-construction or unclear files, move guardrails, deletion guardrails. So you can see it's basically building its own guardrails in here, judgment standards, schedule review behavior. And the cool thing about this is they make it basically a document. And what Anthropic does differently here is Anthropic will actually have these documents live on your local machine, whereas ChatGPT takes a cloud-based approach. And that's also in the effort of making things user-friendly. However, by having this all in the cloud, you are kind of losing a little bit of control, right? So traditionally, when you were building these out on the Claude side, these folders are saved on your computer somewhere. Now, the benefit of that is you own it. If you want to go take them and you want to go now upload them into ChatGPT at some point, you can. If a new model comes out tomorrow and you want to use these files and these agents you built, you can. You're not tied to one system. But the challenge, and this is the challenge that Lars had, my co-founder at Contracts Connected, at his construction company. He has a computer at home and he has a computer at the office, and then his team has their own computers. And he was trying to build out agents that would work with everybody. But one really big struggle that he had was, okay, well, if I'm building with Claude, and everything is saved on my computer. How do I get everybody to have access to this? It's hard. He ended up building a combination of using Notion to save these and share these files, and also Obsidian. And Obsidian's just like a brain, an AI brain, cloud-based AI brain. So essentially, he's building what ChatGPT is built here, but he's having to use external softwares to do so, right? So this is a way to keep things accessible across the whole team very easily and a very easy way to build agents. That's why I'm showing this style here today in ChatGPT over Claude, because all of these files just are in a nice little user interface. You can come back and now I'm going to build my schedule and I want this to run daily. I just want it to run on Monday morning, okay, at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And I could have it post updates if I had more channels. So I'm going to add my schedule here. Cool. You could run it instantly if you want. But here you could have it you could connect your Slack channel and have it update you in Slack when things are done as well. So the agent is kind of done. You can preview it. You can also ask it questions. So now it's not only a file organizer, but it has access to your files. It can rename files. It knows where the files are. Now you can basically use it to find any file that you need across your whole organization. Okay. You can have it run on demand, but it also has that schedule. You can also share it across your team very easily here in the agent settings if you choose. But here is your log. The logs are pre-built out for you. Again, this is a crazy cool user experience from OpenAI. So kudos to them because in Anthropic, in Claude, you kind of have to build this all out yourself. You need to basically build an activity. You need to basically make sure that the apps are always connected. You need to make sure that you have a memory system built in. This agent does all of that on autopilot. It is pretty sick. So I'm not going to run it in my Google Drive because I don't have that many, I don't actually have that many files for it to organize as far as a construction project, so it would get all kinds of confused here. But you could basically come in here and build whatever agent you want. The key thing about the tools, and you'll see it saved over here for you guys, but in the tools section, that's going to be what gives it its abilities. And you're going to want to go to settings and you're going to want to go to apps. And this is the list of tools. So you can add more apps and give it more tools by clicking the apps and then connecting in your apps that you use and you trust. So this is going to be what the agent's going to have access to, what it can go log in on, and what it can use. So what I would say is, come in here, go try to build out an agent. And I would, unless you guys want to get crazy with it, ChatGPT is probably the easiest. I mean, it's by far the easiest in my opinion. I built this out in like 2 seconds with one prompt. Claude, I would probably put it in code and it saves files on your local machine. That's how it works. ChatGPT is all in the cloud. It's easily accessible. You have trade-offs with that, right? Some people like to have their stuff on their local machine. So staying ahead of those recent AI developments, I wanted to just put some stuff in here for the end of the webinar. So there are internal AI platforms. Companies like Citi are enabling internal agent development. So they're basically unlocking something like ChatGPT's agent builder for their employees and just saying, go crazy. If you have something you do every day, go crazy with it. Workforce impact, these AI-driven data centers are reshaping construction job demand. So we got all kinds of data centers being built right now. It's pretty cool. AI is being deployed across project management, control, and safety. And then we have, you want to focus over on durable principles, basically, rather than transient product type. So that's the thing about, should I use ChatGPT? Should I use Claude? Don't pay attention to all that noise. Use what's going to be easiest for you and use what you're actually going to use. Don't get confused by all that hype out there. So basically, I wanted to also just let you guys know I'm still in here every single day. We still have a lot of members in here going crazy. I'm going to give all of you guys a 7-day free trial, but in here, I'm going to be releasing a new course, I think, soon on AI agent development. So far, I have kind of like this beginner guide, advanced prompting, and then how to build custom GPTs. All the webinars are here from all 30 weeks. And then we have kind of resources, which are all PDFs that I've generated. All my presentations are in here. You can use any of this stuff as much as you would like. I get in here and I try to basically create infographics, webinars, things that are going to help all of the community members in here really stay on the cutting edge. We have members all over the world, which is really sick to see. I love to see it, and I would love to see more of you guys in here. If it's your first time, there is a 7-day free trial to get in there. Go watch all the courses and cancel before the 7 days is up. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I build these, again, to give you guys value. So I've talked a lot. I've gone over a lot of concepts. What questions do you guys have for me? We have 8 minutes here. I'd love to answer any if I sparked any. I see a lot of familiar faces here and some familiar faces that ask questions almost every webinar. And otherwise, I must have done the world's best webinar training on how to build an agent. If you guys need help, I like coming up with ideas on like where to start or something like that, shoot me a message on LinkedIn or something like that. And I'm happy to help. I really enjoy building. And I enjoy seeing other people build. I'm helping my buddy, he has a car dealership, build different agents for different parts of his business. So it's pretty cool to see. I love to see other people really kind of like taking advantage of this. And yeah, that's kind of my motivation for why I do these free webinars. Tell your friends, your colleagues, your coworkers about this webinar. And I would love to see them on future hours, even if you're doing emails and just listening in the background. Totally cool with me. So yeah, otherwise, if no one has questions to ask, um, I might dip out of here a little bit early. We're actually onboarding a new user at Contracts Connected, a new GC today. We're releasing a bunch of templates and stuff, like agent templates and stuff like that in the coming days. So it will be up here on our website. I have a list of the different agents that we're building here. Basically how our system works is here. So yeah. Otherwise, I'll see you guys later. Dennis, Eric, Cliff, Jeffrey, Jordan. Nice to see all you. And yeah, hopefully you guys get value. Also, I want your guys' ideas. I'm coming up with a lot of these webinar ideas just based on what I get pulled into on meetings, like the meeting that I was in yesterday, the construction office I visited a few weeks ago. I'm sure when I go next Tuesday to this construction office, I'm going to get inspired to do another training of a different type. I'm actually going to be showing them a fully agentic contract administrator person agent, like fully autonomous, like an employee, like other employees are not going to be able to even know that this is an AI agent. Like I've tested it in Lars's company, and it took people like they didn't realize it wasn't a new hire until we told them, and it was working with them for like a week plus, building out contract packages. It was pretty cool, and it's only getting more and more powerful. So. Alrighty, 5 minutes left. I might just turn my camera off, and if you guys do come up with a question, throw it in there. But otherwise, I will see you next Tuesday. I think that we'll be going maybe deeper into this agent stuff. This seems to be what people really want. So.